السيدات والسادة، نرحب بكم في الجلسة المسائية لليوم الأول. سنبدأ بالبند الأول من جدول الأعمال. أدعو السيد ستيفانو لتقديم عرض موجز حول جدول الأعمال المؤقت. تفضل سيد ستيفانو.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon. I would like now to introduce the agenda for this extraordinary session of Congress. And so the agenda is, please, next slide, is as it was determined by the Executive Council at the 79th session in June. And so it foresees the following item. Amendments to the technical regulations concerning early warning systems, which is item 2.1, which will be expected to be taken this afternoon, followed by item 2.2, Global Greenhouse Gas Watch. Then item 2.3 is divided into two sub-items. The first one on WIPs and non-traditional sources, including artificial intelligence. That is foreseen tomorrow morning after the panel on artificial intelligence. Then the draft resolution on the call to stakeholders concerning as well AI and WIPs. That will be followed by agenda item number 3, which is about general legal policy and regulatory matters. Item 3.2, the WMO Youth Action Plan, is expected to be taken tomorrow afternoon, while the whole day of Wednesday is devoted to item 3.1, which concerns the elections and appointment procedures. There are 6 draft resolutions concerning this item. In between, however, there will be a very important opportunity, an interactive dialogue with the United Nations Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres. That will be around from 2 to 2:45. The last day of Congress will be devoted to item 4, which is the financial situation of the organization and the program and budget and the organization of the Secretariat. The last day is also expected to reconsider document 1, which contains the general summary with some decisions embedded into that. The normal working hour of WMO will be from tomorrow from 9 to 12 and from 2 to 5. Today we have a slightly extended session from 3 to 6. I would like now to show in the next slide the elements of the general summary that are expected then to be reconsidered at the end of the sessions. In particular, the Executive Council, following a request of Congress, adopted last session a number of adjustments to the terms of reference of various EC bodies and other bodies reporting to it, including the Research Board. And therefore, Congress is invited to confirm that these changes that the Executive Council made on behalf of Congress are comfortable. As well as, of course, there are 3 important moments just mentioned that Congress is invited to take note of. The high-level events on early warning for all that took place this morning, as well as the panel on AI and the interactive dialogue with UN Secretary General. I would like now to, in the final slide, just simply to illustrate some aspects concerning the conduct of business. As you may have seen, delegates, they have a card and you are invited to request for the floor, not raising the flag, but pushing the speaking button. You will see light coming green, and this would mean that you are part of the speaking list. At that point, the chair or the secretariat will announce the names of the members who have requested the floor in order of precedence, and then the floor will be given, the light will become red to speak. And after speaking, you are invited to close the microphone. The order in which the floor will be given will be first the members in Salo Basi here, then the members online, and finally the observers either in person in another room or online fundamentally. Individual statements as per practice are invited to be within 3 minutes, and any proposal from observers will need to be first seconded by a member before it's considered by the plenary. And this is all for me, Mr. President. Thank you very much.
Thank you ستيفانو. شكرا ستيفانو. أود أن أذكر بما يلي: تم تحديد جدول الأعمال المؤقت لهذه الجلسة من قبل المجلس التنفيذي بموجب القرار رقم 15، وذلك وفقا للائحة العامة رقم 109. وبموجب اللائحة رقم 110 يجب أن يتضمن جدول الأعمال الجلسة الاستثنائية لمؤتمر البنود التي عقد المؤتمر الاستثنائي لمناقشتها فقط. الآن الباب مفتوح لأي مناقشات عن جدول الأعمال. تفضلوا. إذن لا أرى أي تعليقات. شكرا لكم. تم اعتماد جدول الأعمال وترتيب المدود، وسيعدل ترتيب الأعمال حسب متطلبات الجلسة. ننتقل الآن إلى تشكيل اللجان. نظرا لعدم وجود انتخابات أو تعيينات في هذه الجلسة، فلن تكون هناك حاجة إلى لجنة الترشيحات. وبموجب اللائحة رقم 22 يجوز للمؤتمر أن ينشئ لجنة اعتماد الوثائق، وذلك لفحص أوراق اعتماد المندوبين والمراقبين، وتقدم اللجنة تقريرها للمؤتمر في أقرب وقت ممكن لاتخاذ القرار النهائي بشأن أوراق الاعتماد. وبحسب الممارسة المتبعة ستتألف لجنة الاعتماد من 6 أعضاء يمثل كل منهم إقليما واحدا. اسمحوا لي أن أدعو رؤساء الاتحادات الإقليمية إلى اقتراح أعضاء اللجنة. أولا أدعو رئيس الاتحاد الإقليمي الأول أفريقيا السيد فاتني. تفضل. فاتني مش موجود. أدعو رئيس الاتحاد أوكي. تفضل.
Thank you very much, the President. The nomination committee for Africa nominated Burkina Faso. Sorry.
شكرا سعادة الرئيس. مساء الخير جميعا. يسعدني بصفة رئيس الإقليم الثاني لآسيا أن أرشح السيدة ساندي سونغ رئيسة وفد هونغ كونغ الصين لتمثيل إقليم آسيا في لجنة أوراق اعتماد مؤتمر الكونغرس الاستثنائي، وتفضلوا بقبول فائق التحية والتقدير. شكرا لكم.
Muy buenas tardes, señor presidente. Gracias por darme la palabra. En esta ocasión estamos presentes unos cuantos de la región Colombia. Niña, Idam, ¿te presentan? Sí, entonces te voy a proponer a vos. ¿Sí? ¿Qué vas a proponer? Sí, quiero proponer a la directora del IDEAM de Colombia, por favor. Gracias. No sé si estoy en lo correcto.
شكرا سيد إدوارد غوزيه. رابعا أدعو رئيس الإقليم الرابع أمريكا الشمالية وأمريكا الوسطى والبحر الكاريبي السيد إيفان توماس.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to nominate for the Credentials Committee Mr. Albert Martis, the delegate from Curacao and St. Martin.
شكرا سيد إيفان. خامسا أدعو رئيس الاتحاد الإقليمي الخامس جنوب غرب المحيط الهادي السيد لايليتا فيفيتا. تفضل سيدي. He's not here, huh? He was here. وأخيرا أدعو رئيس الاتحاد الإقليمي السادس الدكتورة إلينا. تفضلي.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. For the Credential Committee, I want to nominate Milica Dordevic from Bosnia-Herzegovina to represent the Regional Association 6 for the Credential Committee. Thank you so much.
شكرا لك سيدتي. وأود أن أقترح أن تتولى البوسنة والهرسك منصب الرئيس. هل هناك أي اعتراض من أي عضو؟ لا يوجد أي اعتراض. إذن شكرا لكم. تم اعتماد تشكيل لجنة الاعتماد وتتألف من بوركينا فاسو، هونغ كونغ، الصين، كولومبيا، المكسيك، نيوزيلندا والبوسنة والهرسك، على أن تترأس البوسنة والهرسك هذه اللجنة.
No, Curacao and San Martin. Mexico, no.
No, not Mexico.
I understood Mexico.
No. Mexico, there is. Curacao.
Curacao Saint Martin.
إذن بدل المكسيك كوراساو. يرجى العلم بأن اللجنة ستعقد اجتماعها غدا بعد الجلسة بدعم من مسؤولة العلاقات الخارجية السيدة ناتالي بورك. ونتطلع إلى تقريرهم يوم الأربعاء، كما أنه ووفقا للممارسات المتبعة سيتم إنشاء لجنة تنسيق تضم أعضاء المكتب والأمانة العامة لتسهيل الإعداد اليومي للجلسة. شكرا لكم. سننتقل الآن إلى البند التالي من جدول الأعمال والمتعلق بشأن الإنذارات المبكرة للجميع، وسيتولى رئاسة هذا الجزء من الجلسة النائب الثاني للرئيس السيد أوين. تفضل بالصعود. تفضل سيدي إذن بشروا.
Good afternoon, everybody. As the President indicated, we're now moving to item 2.1, and this on the agenda that relates to amendments to the technical regulations concerning early warning services. And this is supported by document 2.1, which is currently in work in progress version 2 state. So you go into the work in progress folder and you'll find the current document in there. And I also remind you this item is supported by an information document, INF 2.1, Early Warnings for All, in focus, hazard monitoring and forecasting. This is the first substantive item on the Congress agenda. So, and we are dealing with amendments to the technical regulations concerning early warning services. And of course, this is the primary item for which this extraordinary session has actually been convened. This draft resolution was recommended by the extraordinary session of the Services Commission, which took place last March. And the documents, as I said, are available on the portal for you to consider. So first of all, I'm going to invite the President of the Services Commission, Ian Lisk, to introduce the document and the draft resolution. Over to you, Ian.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to everybody. There is a very short presentation, one slide, which does not reflect at all the quantity of work that has gone into actually developing these early warning services technical regulations over about the last 15 months. And I'll go into the slide in a minute, but just a couple of qualifying statements. This has been the absolute number one priority for the Services Commission over the last 18 months or so. As Owen said, it's already had one significant viewing and endorsement from the extraordinary virtual session of CERCON, which took place in March of this year, benefited for a lot of technical input from the experts who were online at that session. We had several hundred people online and tens of interventions. So it really has, been subject to pretty extensive expert rigor. What are these technical regulations about? Well, I'll tell you what they're about. We talk a lot in this building about the authoritative voice for the delivery of warnings. these technical regulations for the first time ever lay out as clearly as we can the definition, or indeed the standards, the international standards for the authoritative voice to deliver warnings, and are therefore absolutely fundamental to the successful delivery of the UN's Early Warnings for All initiative. So that's the intro. Let's go into the slide, just one slide today. Next slide, please. Why are we doing it? Well, I've explained already this importance of the need to generate these technical regulations to support members' delivery of early warning services for a range of hazards. I've already mentioned as well that we've been through significant expert review, both in terms of the extraordinary session of CERCOM, which was an intergovernmental meeting which I chaired in March, but we've also run a whole series of regional information sessions, both last year, to support what was going to CERCOM around all the regions, and then a couple of information sessions about a month ago when we once again sought to explain what we were looking to do with the technical regulations and to give all members the opportunity of providing feedback, any issues that they were concerned about, and to ask questions of a general nature, and to also use those information sessions as an opportunity to encourage members to submit their interventions to the plenary at wmo.int in advance of this session. And as a result of that advertisement, I've been running around the building, well, both buildings, quite a lot today, just responding to a couple of those interventions from members and doing the necessary changes to the tech regs. And that's why we've got the work in progress paper, second version, which was posted to the website around about half an hour ago. I didn't get lunch again. What does the tech regs ask? Well, it's asking Congress as the supreme decision-making body of the WMO to adopt the amendment to the technical regulations. The effective date would be the 1st of January. So that's when these come into being as being in force, 1st of January 2027. Surprise, surprise, consistent with the Early Warnings for All initiative, everyone on the planet protected by an early warning by 2027. And the implementation date, so basically implementation means when all members, when we're monitoring how members are implementing these in the regions, that implementation date is the 31st of December 2029, which is consistent with Sendai Target G. Okay, so we haven't plucked that number out of the air. That is consistent with the target that was set many years ago at Sendai. We'll also be requesting the Services Commission to support these technical regulations with the development of a comprehensive guide on how to implement the technical regulations. The technical regulations themselves are the what. We need to provide lots of guidance information, both at guide level, but supporting guidelines on the how members do it. We're well aware of that. So there will then, subject to approval today, I'll then be sending away the experts in CERCOM to start work almost immediately on the development of the supporting guide and supporting guidance material to support that as well. And the intention will be to gather a lot of the guidance material which is already available, from what we've done both within the Service Commission, but intergovernmental bodies before 2019 as well, and to bring it together in a much more consolidated way so it's easy to follow through the hierarchy what members need to do. Intention at the moment is to make that guide, take it to the CERCOM 4th session, which will be in October of next year. So in terms of how WMO normally moves, we like doing 4-year periods of work. We're going to be moving very, very quickly on this to develop and take that guide for approval of the CERCOM 4 session in 2026. So about a year from now. We'll be working with our friends in the regions, as we always do, to support implementation over the coming years. This will be a priority activity going right the way through the rest of this decade. We'll also obviously be asking the Secretary-General to publish those technical regulations for early warning services, and to actually monitor the progress in implementation, primarily by working through the regions, and again, making sure that what we say we're doing, we're actually doing it, and addressing any issues that come about with members' implementation as we move forward. Finally, we'll be asking members to prioritise implementation of these early warning service technical regulations, and that will require extensive further consultation with your respective governments, your stakeholders at the national level, and various other interested parties. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to compliment Sercom and colleagues in the Secretariat for the highly comprehensive engagement and feedback and briefing sessions that you've carried out in relation to this particular exercise. Right then, folks, I'll open the floor for any questions before we move to the document for clarification. Okay, I don't see anybody seeking the floor, so we can go straight to the document, and there's plenty of time for people to seek the floor to say whatever it is they'd like to say. Right then, we might start with the annex before we move to the draft resolution. So we have the annex on page 5 of the Work in Progress 2 document. And as I mentioned earlier on, this is document 2.1, Work in Progress 2, which can be found in the Work in Progress folder on the session portal. And we're looking at the annex titled Amendment to the Technical Regulations, Volume 1, General Meteorological Standards and Recommended Practices, WMO number 49. Right then, as Ian was indicating, we've already received from some interventions and suggested modifications. So we might actually just move down to the first modification, suggested edit, and that's on page 7. It's in section 6.1.1. Yes, thank you very much. And the first item there has been suggested by the BCT. So I might open the floor to BCT to perhaps outline the rationale for that suggested change. So BCT, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, colleagues. We're speaking of the one in blue, correct?
Yes, correct. It's the intervention.
So we have actually withdrawn that consideration, having had some discussions with the Services Commission and understanding that, in fact, meteorological hazards under the context of early warnings for all does cover the hazards that are related to the marine environment. So we're withdrawing that original intervention. Thank you very much,
Arlene. Next, I hand the floor over to Indonesia, who has sought the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Indonesia would like to insert the following words at the end of the paragraph 6.1.1 with the sentence and relevant recommendation for early actions, so that the whole para can be read as members shall determine, establish, and operate the necessary early warning services for meteorological, hydrological, climatological, marine, and related environmental hazard affecting their territories, taking into consideration the disaster risk associated with the territory-specific hazard events types, their severity, likelihood, spatial and temporal characteristics, and as far as possible, potential impacts. Then we would like to add and relevant recommendation for early actions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for providing that suggested addition and the rationale behind that. Thank you very much. I might move back to the previous modification, which was provided by New Zealand, which relates to the edit relating to affecting their respective territories. So New Zealand, you might outline the rationale for that edit, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Apologies there, just getting used to the microphones again. The edit to 6.1.1 from New Zealand is actually connected to 6.1.2 that we struck off. So if I just explain, we thought that 6.1.1 covered the text that was in 6.1.2. So 6.1.2 we thought was a redundant text, but we wanted to capture the final part of 6.1.2, which was affecting the respective territories. And maybe if I just further explain, we think that the reason that 6.1.1 was covered already is because of the introduction of probably the text establish and operate in the first sentence, which probably happened during the extraordinary session of CERCOM. And it was just a hangover from that. So that's why we think 6.1.2 is redundant.
Thank you very much. So we've just discussed the modification in 6.1.1 and the proposed deletion of 6.1.2 as explained by New Zealand. Thank you very much. Next, we have Tanzania seeking the floor.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Chair. First, I would like to express my appreciation and thanks to the SG and also for you for this session. Would like to suggest 6.1.3. We have used the wording members shall ensure the early warning services are available to national. Now, my question is on availability, because availability may not necessarily mean accessibility, and accessibility may not necessarily mean application. So my suggestion would be to fix this by introducing services are provided. So that would be my suggestion. And then I don't know if I can take this opportunity to comment on 6.2.1, Chair. Is it okay?
Well, I'm going to just kind of go through paragraphs up to 6.1.3. I want to deal with those edits first, if that's okay. And if you wouldn't mind taking the floor then in relation to that other paragraph, please. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Right then, just looking at paragraph 6.1.3, I see that's just an editorial change, just adding the word in using. So I think that's acceptable, I think. So, and then we have the change as well from Tanzania from paragraph 6.1.3, where available has been changed to provided. Right, moving on. Has anybody any objections to proceeding and accepting those paragraphs in their current form? 6.1.1 and 6.1.3, having deleted 6.1.2. Ian.
Yeah, just on 6.1.1 and the suggestion by Indonesia. I just want to say that makes that quite a long sentence. It's not, I would say, best practice in terms of standards to be short and snappy and clear. What I would like to do is, if we have stuff that's not editorial, this is technical regulations. It's the most important thing the WMO does. I would ask, Mr. Chair, that if we have these longer phrases, rather than editing on the fly, I'm happy for them to go in. That doesn't mean that it's gone in now, that happy, full stop. Okay, because these are tech regs. I think, you know, we need to look at this from a bigger picture thing with some of these more extensive edits, you know, once we've gone through the whole document. So I'm just being clear, not a massive problem with what Indonesia has suggested, but I would like to view it from the perspective of the whole of the technical regulations. It's very easy otherwise to make mistakes that we then have cause to regret once the dreaded gavel comes down. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So I suppose we want to ensure that we don't install compensation errors in this particular document. We want to refine the language accordingly. Very good. So moving on to the next set of edits, we're looking at paragraphs 6.2. Just looking at the version that's there. Just 1 second, please. Apologies for the delay, folks. We're just making sure we're dealing with all the same items at the same time. Right then, so we move on to section 6.2.1. And I understand we had a suggested change from BCT to modify the language in relation to non-duplicating, but I think that has been resolved on the wings. So then we have another intervention from BCT to include marine, but I think that's now been resolved as well, looking at the text. Next we have an intervention from Japan. So I'll give the floor to Japan to outline the rationale for that intervention, please.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. In this sentence, Japan would like to propose to keep non-duplication, which was deleted by the proposal of BCT, and it's in the second line, and also add without the discrepancy before official providers in the second line from the bottom. Regarding this paragraph, Japan would like to emphasize the critical importance of the consistency of warnings without the discrepancy from official providers for emergency decision-making for disaster management. There are a number of cases demonstrating how inconsistent information discrepancy from different official sources seriously confuse not only decision-making by the government, but also action by the general public. To that end, it is required to define clear and non-duplication roles and responsibilities of official providers. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And we have an additional text in the notes under that paragraph, which is, or if geographical distribution of responsibilities is needed according to national institutional settings. I'm suggesting this is just an elaboration of the text there. So I think it's quite straightforward as to why that would be suggested. So I think that I'm suggesting that would be generally welcomed by Congress. Next, we give Tanzania the floor, please.
Thank you very much. So I just wanted to get a bit of clarification from 6.2.1, where we say each member shall designate one or more organization as the official provider. So I would appreciate to get a clarification. What does it practically will mean? Because meteorological, climatological, and hydrological, these are related. Does it mean we are going to have three different authoritative voice or two different authoritative voice? And just a bit of clarification. Who is going to be the PR? So I really appreciate the clarification.
Thank you very much, Tanzania. Ian, the floor is yours for that explanation.
Thank you very much for the question. Very, very important point. One or more organisations is exactly the fact that in some countries, some members, the responsibility for hydrological warnings does sit with a different organisation from that which issues the meteorological warnings. Okay, there are many examples like that. So obviously it has to be one or more organisations. So there will be an authoritative provider for meteorological warnings, and in some countries there'll be another authoritative provider for hydrological. What they can't do is claim that the hydrological is going to do the meteorological as well, unless they're designated by their own government as being the NMHS for doing that. So that's why it says one or more organisations. It's to cover for those different remits. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ian. Next, we move to the next paragraph, 6.2. There's a modification there, but again, that relates to the marine suggestion. Excuse me. Next, we have Curacao seeking the floor.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And also I would like to get some more in-depth clarification regarding the part that the line that mentioning decision support information, and it refers then as the paragraph of 6.1.1 when we had a new addition of the delegate of Indonesia regarding recommendation. My clarification is actually what are we going to be using in this paragraphs? Because I'm seeking maybe a kind of joining them together, because the recommendation or decision support information seems to be the same, but that's why I'm asking for clarification on this paragraph. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Albert. We might go up to 6.1.1 again, please. Ian?
Yeah, sorry, everyone. It takes about 3 seconds for the mic to go red, so apologies for that. It's not operator error, it's the kit. So again, the way we're structuring this, just to be clear, 6.1 is just very general preamble. We then get into the relevant sections, such as institutional stuff, with the much more specific under each one of those headings. However, as I've just explained, the Indonesian additional text, that's why I said what I said about 5 minutes ago, because I do have a concern that as we go through this, we could break something unintentionally that we might regret later. So what I'd like to do is, if we can go through the whole document, that type of question, we will be cross-checking that once we've gone through the document. It might not be today, obviously, but that's what we'll be doing. Thank you.
That's very good. Thanks very much. So we want to ensure the language hangs together and that there's an overall coherency and consistency right across the document. But I don't hear anybody objecting to the general sense and meaning and purpose of the language that was has been added by Indonesia. The intention is not to suppress it, but just to ensure that it's coherent with the overall language throughout the document. Right then, we might go back to the paragraph that we were on. We were on 6.2.4, and we're just running through the edits that we have already received through plenary. So the next edit is from New Zealand on 6.2.6. So again, that's just an elaboration of the paragraph. I think the intervention is reasonably self-evident. So I'm suggesting we don't need any major explanation of the rationale there. Similarly, in, excuse me? Spain. Spain has requested the floor. Spain, the floor is yours.
Muchas gracias, vicepresidente. En relación al punto 622, desde España hemos enviado a Plenary una propuesta de corrección relativa a la nota 3 y la solicitud que planteamos es sustituir la expresión registro de autoridades de alerta de la OMM por registro de proveedores de alerta de la OMM. Entendemos que realizar esta corrección requerirá también modificar el nombre del registro de OMM, pero lo creemos necesario por coherencia para evitar malos entendidos entre el concepto de proveedor oficial designado y el concepto de autoridad. Muchas gracias.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll hand the floor to Cyril, who has already seen the amendment. Thank you very much to Spain. Over to you, Cyril.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you, Spain, for raising the point, which we effectively didn't include as a work in progress. So what Spain is referring to, ladies and gentlemen, is this WMO register of alerting authorities, which has been operated and maintained by the organization as a partnership with the International Telecommunication Union for years already. And here, this is a bit more than a language issue, if I understand well. All the text in those technical regulation provisions here refer to designated official providers, while the register refers to alerting authorities. And so the intervention by Spain is to suggest harmonizing the language and the designation of those national med services, national hydrological agencies, or whatever institution is given a role as a provider of early warning information. Is my understanding correct?
If to give the floor back to Spain, please.
Muchas gracias al secretariado por la aclaración. Efectivamente, es precisamente lo que estamos proponiendo.
All right. Thank you. Right. So thank you very much.
Very good.
So as I was saying in my introduction here, this register has been in place for many years now, and WMO is not the only one, and was not the only organization engaged in that process. And so as a result, it may take a little bit of time to come to an agreement, in particular with ITU, should we really wish to change the name of the register. But if all of you would connect to the register pages, you will see that the entities, the organizations, national institutions registered there are typically the Met Service, Hydrological Agency, and some of them have done more, right? So while I fully understand the call for a consistent wording in the document, I'm afraid this may be a bit of an exception, but we can take the idea forward, but this will take a significant number of, it will take time to fix it, and we cannot decide that this is going to be changed right away like this.
Okay, thank you very much. So if I understand correctly, the suggestion is to leave the language as it is, but with the full knowledge that there's an exception that will have to be managed, and for there to be a reassurance that it will be managed in an effective way. I might give Ian the floor.
Yeah, just to reiterate that there will be, when we approve these tech regs this week, there is a request both on myself, but the other technical commission president as well, Michel Jean over there, to go back over everything that relates to this and basically look for things that may now be either inconsistent or need changing. This definitely falls into that type of review that we will obviously, in slightly slower time, we're not going to forget it, but we will go back and we'll address that issue. But we'll have to keep the current name for now, if that's okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So this is an issue that will need to be addressed, but will be addressed in the screening process that will be conducted by Michel and Ian after the regulations have been adopted, hopefully. Next, we have France.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. J'ai bien noté la difficulté qu'il y aurait à changer le nom du registre à court terme, mais à l'occasion de cette discussion, il semble important d'attirer l'attention sur la différence entre avertissement, warning, et alerte, alert. En tout cas, en français, et je pense dans beaucoup de langues, il y a une différence entre les deux. Et dans de nombreux pays, ce ne sont pas les mêmes autorités qui exercent les deux rôles. Les services météorologiques sont chargés des avertissements, d'où le nom de notre initiative Early Warnings. Mais les autorités publiques, les services de la sécurité civile sont chargés de l'alerte auprès des citoyens. Et donc, il semble important que dans le cadre de la revue générale du texte qui sera faite, on puisse bien veiller à utiliser le plus souvent le terme avertissement plutôt que le terme alerte, a fortiori si le registre tel qu'il existe comprend effectivement les services météo qui sont chargés des avertissements et non pas des alertes. Merci.
Thank you very much. Back to the Secretariat to respond to that particular point.
Merci beaucoup pour cette intervention que je comprends tout à fait pour l'avoir vécu, bien évidemment. Et oui, c'est quelque chose qu'il faudra effectivement prendre en compte dans un temps un petit peu plus long. Encore une fois, à titre de commentaire, un peu pour élargir un petit peu le commentaire, l'ensemble des dispositions qui vous sont présentées aujourd'hui, vous avez pu le noter, ont pour ambition de renforcer le rôle de ces institutions qui sont chargées d'avertir, tout en reconnaissant la souveraineté des États dans leur propre organisation. Et ça, c'est un point extrêmement important. Et c'est pour ça que ces dispositions sont d'un niveau suffisamment élevé pour laisser cette flexibilité aux États de mettre en œuvre en fonction de leurs propres dispositions législatives, réglementaires et autres. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. I think France have identified quite a significant issue, of course. The difference between alerts and warnings and the language is quite important in this particular case. Ian.
I think just in the interests of reassuring members that this one isn't going to go away, because there is a fundamental difference between an alert and a warning. This is about warnings. It's not about alerts. I think to get us through this little impasse, if we could just add the word currently before maintained, then that clearly illustrates that we are going to do something about that. And again, this has been a fantastic intervention, very much a demonstration of Congress doing its big oversight role. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that kind of indicates that we will be going through a screening process, and there's a refinement exercise to be conducted at a later stage. Next, we move on to, we were at paragraph 6.2.6. And so the next modification was from BCT, which is 6.2.7. I'm suggesting that that's essentially an editorial change, and there isn't a substantive change to the meaning of the document. Next, we have Senegal seeking the floor. So the floor is yours.
Oui, merci Monsieur le Président. Bonjour chers collègues. C'était juste pour supporter la proposition de la France, parce que les discussions que nous avons eues également avec les services de protection civile au Sénégal aussi montrent que ces questions entre alerte et avertissement ont été soulevées également. Ça va dans le même sens. Merci.
Thank you very much, Senegal. And while we haven't actually concluded the work and refinement here, we have a resolution to allow us to move forward from this point in the document. Next, we have Uruguay seeking the floor.
Hola, bueno, de acuerdo con Francia y con Senegal, en nuestro caso también quien se encarga de las alertas es la defensa civil, con lo cual para el punto 6.2.7, todo lo que es encargado de formación, educación, para la prevención se encarga otro organismo que no es el Servicio Meteorológico. Entonces, si fuese advertencia, uno puede dar más sobre educación en estos temas, pero como se menciona alerta y para la protección, eso se encarga otra institución que es quien tiene los mandatos y capaz que eso ocurre en otros países. Nada más.
Thank you very much. And that's an excellent elaboration of the case for addressing this comprehensively. As the president of CERCOM has indicated, clearly, as we all know, there's a huge distinction between warnings and alerts, and the intention is not to recast warnings as alerts in any way. And there's work to be done here in ensuring there's a coherency right across the overall document. And these arguments and these points and the rationale that you've set out will be taken into account during the next stage as we refine the document itself. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much, folks. Next, we move on to section 6.3 of the document, information and derived products. And we have an intervention in paragraph 6.3.1. I'm going to ask New Zealand, and also paragraph 6.3.2. So I'm going to ask New Zealand to take the floor and outline the rationale for that change, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maybe could I just ask, just before I explain the interventions, could I maybe just ask the Secretariat to use the full screen at the front of plenary just to widen the document? I think just for those of us at the back of the room, it's slightly difficult to read on screen. Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, New Zealand's edits to 631 and 632 are connected, similar to what we did with 6.1.1 and 6.1.2. We felt that 6.3.2 is largely redundant text, as it is mentioned services developed in coordination with users, which is already covered in 6.3.1, which says services developed in collaboration with relevant stakeholders. So we propose that 6.3.2 be deleted and with some of the relevant text moving to the end of 6.3.1. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much for that intervention and that explanation. Unless anybody has any objection, I'll move on to the next proposed change. Thank you. Back again. Apologies. The next change was from BCT in relation to that marine intervention, and we've already discussed that item, so we don't need to cover it again. Next, moving to section 6.4, dissemination and communication. We're looking at paragraph 6.4.1, and we've a small editorial change, which I think is self-evident and refines the language from New Zealand. Thank you very much. And if anybody has any objection, feel free to seek the floor. And we have Indonesia seeking the floor. The floor is yours, Indonesia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. Please allow us to add a new paragraph after 6.3.7. So it will be 6.3.8. We would like to add in line with the same consideration for our previous intervention in 6.1.1. If possible, we would like to insert a new paragraph also related with the recommendation for early action as a new paragraph in 6.3.8 as follows. The early warning service information and derived products should incorporate relevant recommendations to take early actions of the possible impacts of meteorological, hydrological, climatological, and related environmental hazards on individuals, communities, infrastructure, and relevant socio-economic sectors. We also would like to send this text to the plenary email. And the reason for that is it is quite frequently happen when the early warning disseminate to the public can receive the warning, but not everyone understand what should they do. They request for the clear recommendation from the warning. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So you're going to email that text, I understand, to plenary, and we'll add that to the work in progress document. And once we have it in the document, we'll put it on screen and discuss it. So in the meantime, we'll continue on. Thank you very much, Indonesia. Just checking, I don't see anybody else seeking the floor. So I'll continue on through the remaining edits. If I recall correctly, we were on paragraph 6.4.1, where we had a editorial edit, which was helping to refine the language, I'm suggesting. So next we move on to paragraph 6.4.4. And sorry. So we have Spain seeking the floor. The floor is yours, Spain.
Muchas gracias, vicepresidente. Simplemente expresar una reserva a la propuesta realizada por Indonesia, alineada con la intervención realizada por Francia previamente en relación con las distintas competencias de los servicios meteorológicos nacionales, dando avisos, y las autoridades de protección civil creando las alertas para la población. Y el problema que puede suponer el tratar de juntar ambos conceptos cuando las responsabilidades están claramente separadas en muchos países. Hay que esperar a ver el texto escrito, pero a priori mantenemos una reserva respecto a la propuesta realizada.
Thank you very much. And I reassure you, the process will be where Indonesia are going to submit the text to plenary. We're going to take that text, we're going to put it into the document, and then we're going to put it up on screen, and we can all inspect that particular suggestion. Okay, so thank you very much for that intervention. Okay, right then. So back to the document, and we were at paragraph 6.4.4, and we've a modification there from Japan, BCT, Italy, UK, etc. So just one moment, please. I hand the floor over to Ian to address this particular change, please.
So this paragraph has involved multiple discussions today, really, mostly over the lunchtime period. It was pointed out by Japan quite rightly that we needed to be very careful to be consistent with language that exists in other places. In this case, the Unified Data Policy of the WMO wrote Resolution 1, where unwittingly we had introduced an inconsistency through 6.4.4 approved by CERCOM with the content of Resolution 1. So what we've simply done is basically to align what we've got in 6.4 here about the fact that what it says in Resolution 1 about warnings, I'll be clear with everybody. In Resolution 1, it says warnings should be shared with everybody. It doesn't say shall be shared with everybody. Again, going back to what I explained earlier, this is one of those issues now that we will take away and bring back possibly a new recommendation at CERCOM 4 saying that the data policy should have an upgrade for warnings to be shall. And it will be down to the members to make a decision about whether they think we shall or we should. But what we can't have at this stage clearly is an inconsistency between two top-level documents. And that text, the new text, nice and simple and short, all right? Less words is always easier to deal with than lots of words that people can pick apart, was agreed with those delegations over the lunchtime period. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And as is normally the case when new resolutions are being brought into force, some inconsistencies emerge during the conversation. So less said, sooner mended, and we have another set of corrections and modifications and coherencies that we have to put in place. But this, in this case, is to do with the United Data Policy. Thank you very much. Unified Data Policy, I should say. Right then, has anybody any questions in relation to that modification before we move on? Thank you, Ian, for that clarification, and thanks to everybody for pointing out that particular issue. Next, we move to paragraph 6.4.6, and again, we have a stylistic editorial change, so thank you very much to New Zealand for that one. And again, in section 6.5, we've one more modification, that's BCT, and that's the marine addition that we've already discussed earlier on in the annex. Right then, now we still have to come back to the modification from Indonesia, but while we're waiting for that to be added, I suggest we move to the resolution. And we'll go through the suggested changes in that part of the document. And once we've gone through that, we'll conduct one final run through the whole document to ensure everybody is familiar with the changes that have taken place. That's great. So change in plans, we're actually going to keep with the annex part of the document, and we have the change from Indonesia incorporated already. So we're now looking at that document, at that change. Well, it's not there yet. Excuse me. Right then. So we have all the text, I think, from Indonesia on the screen. Thank you very much. So this is paragraph 6.3.8. I'll read it out. The early warning service information and derived products should incorporate relevant recommendations to early warnings, to early actions of the possible impacts of meteorological, hydrological, climatological, and related environmental hazards on individuals, communities, infrastructure, and relevant socioeconomic sectors. Right then, the floor is open for any comments or observations or questions in relation to that particular intervention. Thanks to Indonesia, by the way. Okay, so France first, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Autant nous partageons avec l'Indonésie la préoccupation que les avertissements soient accompagnés de recommandations et de conseils d'actions opérationnelles, autant l'étendue des recommandations telle qu'elle est décrite dans ce texte va très loin, puisqu'elle inclut les possibles impacts sur les individus, les communautés, les infrastructures et les secteurs économiques. Tous les avertissements ne pourront pas comporter des recommandations sur tous ces éléments-là. Du coup, voilà, il nous semble que un vocabulaire plus atténué serait plus approprié concernant cette disposition. Merci.
Thank you very much, France. Spain.
Pues únicamente compartir la posición expresada por Francia. El objetivo de este párrafo va mucho más allá de las competencias de los servicios meteorológicos nacionales en muchos países. Antes lo ha mencionado también Uruguay. Y podría llegar a ser un problema el recoger con un texto tan detallado este objetivo, también compartiendo la importancia de realmente alcanzar el objetivo que se pretende con las alertas tempranas. Muchas gracias.
Thank you for taking the floor again, Spain, on that particular item. I think Ian wishes to take the floor. Iran, you have the floor first.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, sir, for considering the paragraph. Thank you, Indonesia. But concerning the comment made by Indonesia, if you look at item 6.35, I think the text seems redundant and it's somehow duplicated. And we shall not extend the document when it's not necessary. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Iran. Ian, the floor is yours.
I keep seeing lights flashing before my eyes. It's this thing that takes forever. Anyway, just very quickly, I think Iran's intervention already covers off what I was going to say in that I think 6.3.8, number one, does kind of duplicate what 6.3.5 says. So many thanks, Iran, for pointing that out. I would also say that 6.3.8, with the greatest respect to my friends from Indonesia, is very much getting the how do we do stuff, not the what we should be doing, and therefore is stuff that will appear in guides and guidelines. Okay, this is a top-level document which says what you should be doing. That stuff, 6.3.8, most of it, if not all of it, is already covered in 6.3.5. So I would support the deletion of 6.3.8. And actually going back to 6.1.1, I would also suggest the deletion of this for the same reason of the Indonesian text under 6.1.1 as well. Back to Indonesia, really, isn't it? Back to you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Listening to your intervention there, your explanation, this is essentially about what, but there are guidelines to be put in place and to be laid down, take into account existing guidelines and documentation, and that's the how. So, and the how will be addressed, and there'll be an open technical expert discussion on all of the aspects that need to be included in those guidelines. So that's the place for that to be happening. This is Congress, where we define what is going to happen. So we have a proposal to delete that suggestion from Indonesia with the reassurance that these issues are important and they will be addressed in the how, in the guidelines, which will be put together by CERCOM. And you are also proposing at this point that 6.1.1, the addition at the end of that paragraph is removed. Is that acceptable to Indonesia? Do you have sufficient reassurances that the process will capture and take into account and address the important issues that you've raised here? Indonesia, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much for the concern. However, perhaps in the other resolution or in the other occasions, we do need to ensure that the warning is actionable. So how can the community take appropriate action if just the warning without any suggestion or recommendation, just perhaps seek further information from the local authority? That is the example of the recommendation. However, we would be thanks so much for all of the concern. We don't mind if it will be deleted, but please put in our mind that the warning must be actionable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Indonesia. And certainly it is taking into account the details discussed in this part of Congress. It is clear that warnings will be actionable and they will be addressing the concerns and the issues and the information that you've quite rightly raised, and they need to be addressed. Next, we need to move through the interventions and others who are seeking the floor. So first we have the Dominican Republic, who've been waiting patiently. Apologies for our delay in getting to you to take the floor. So the floor is yours.
Sí, buenos días, gracias, señor presidente. ¿Me escuchan bien?
Apologies again to Dominican Republic. We can't hear you. So we might.
Sí, hola, hola. ¿Me escuchan?
Apologies, that was my mistake. Apologies. Keep going.
Ok. Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Buenos días. Mandé ya hace un momento, envié hace un momentito al plenario del correo electrónico una ligera observación en el punto 6.5 del documento que estamos tratando. Y me refiero a la última parte del documento donde habla de fuentes no oficiales. Nos gustaría que se agregue una pequeña frase que diga previo. Lo digo porque muchas veces se toman informaciones rápidas sin ser verificadas y esto puede traer problemas al momento de tomar alguna decisión, tanto de la protección civil como de los mismos servicios meteorológicos e hidrológicos. Solamente esa opción. Gracias.
Thank you very much. So the suggested modification is after being validated and verified. So it's before,
Así es,
after
así es.
reliable. After reliable, it's before, between a, yeah, after being validated and. Is that correct, Dominican Republic?
Sí, sí, gracias, sí.
Thank you very much for that. Next, we have Ghana. Floor is yours, Ghana.
Thank you very much. So I just want us to look back to the institutional arrangement, which is on the 6.2.1. I would like to make a suggestion that instead of using the one or more organization, we change that to be each member should ensure that the designated official providers clearly have defined roles and responsibility to supply required early warning services for meteorological, hydrological, climatological, marine, and the related environmental hazard to meet the needs of consistent and credible decision support information from official providers for national disaster risk management. I'm making this submission because when it comes down to the national level, especially for Africa now, we are having the African Union establishing the multi-hazard early warning system, and which are bringing up early warning institutions within our continent. So we just want this to be clearly stated so that already early warning is just leveraging on existing infrastructure. So if you're leveraging on existing infrastructure, or existing institution, then that should just state it as designated official institutions will continue that mandate. And that will coincide with the 6.6. It will coincide with the 6.2.3 and then 0.4 as mentioned in the document. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ian.
I'm pretty sure I'm very comfortable with the intervention, but we absolutely have to see the text. This is such an important paragraph not to get wrong. So if you can submit your suggested text to plenary@wmo.int so that we can have a proper look at it, not right now, because obviously that's going to take time, Owen, but we do need to see that text. Okay. Thank you.
Could you submit the text and we'll try to incorporate it into the document as soon as possible? Thank you very much. Next, we have New Zealand.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So just regarding the interventions from Indonesia on appropriate action being taken, we have the view that the high-level statement that was added to 6.1.1 falls into the category of a what rather than a how and could be retained. So sorry, I don't have the exact text, but I will leave that for you to consider. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, so while we're waiting for the Indonesian text, we might move on to, in the interest of time, the text from Ghana. We might, in the interest of time, move on to the resolution. So we might scroll up to the resolution itself, please. So that's draft resolution 2.1/1. Russian Federation.
Спасибо большое, господин председатель. Дело в том, что заблаговременно, еще до начала Конгресса, мы передали в секретариат свои предложения по пункту 5 регламента. К сожалению, мы не увидели их на экране, и в наших обсуждениях наши предложения сейчас не рассматривались. Я бы хотел сообщить, что пункт 5 регламента «Метеорологическое обслуживание населения» затрагивает гидрологические прогнозы и предупреждения, процедуры выпуска которых рассмотрены в 3-м томе регламента. В связи с этим предлагаем добавить следующее примечание ниже пункта 5.1.1b, если мы сейчас сможем вывести его на экран.
Thanks very much. I think we're still talking about the annex. So we might just go back down to the annex, please, if I understand
Да,
correctly. And so if we could display 511B. Thank you.
Да, оно на экране зеленым цветом отмечено предложение.
Yeah, we're happy with that. Take the floor, Ian, please.
Spasibo, no problem. Thank you.
И если позволите, еще одно замечание по пункту 6.3.7. Там есть проблемы с переводом на русский язык. Мы передадим правильно русскую версию в секретариат, чтобы ее могли тоже учесть.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Спасибо.
Okay, so I think we're still waiting for the Ghana text to be incorporated into the document. So we can move on. We can move to the top of the document and start working through the draft resolution. So, okay, thank you. So we're just working through the interventions so far. So the first relates to the adopts. So we have Japan's intervention highlighted in an illegible color, but the suggested change is as a commitment by all WMO members to their responsibilities in providing early warning services. And we also have, excuse me. Iran, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. All you know that the early warning for all is a core activity of members for the next couple of years, and its achievement is very important for safety and well-being of nation. So considering the item 6.4.1 annex to this document, I wish to add a paragraph in the draft resolution in request section by the Secretary General to formally communicate this resolution and the annexed amendment of the technical regulation to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of all members, highlighting their critical role in protecting lives and livelihoods and requesting their support to advising relevant national entities to prioritize the implementation of these regulation provisions, including the allocation necessary resources. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. So that's a suggested addition to the requests, Secretary General. Can you send the text into plenary, please? Thank you very much. Next, we have Tanzania. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So requesting the floor to just get one clarification that is general to most of the resolution. So I was reading the regulation 153 from the convention and is providing directive to the Secretary General to perform some activities. Now, the Congress is the supreme body of the WMO. My question is, why do we use request, which is not mandatory? Why should we not use direct? And if I'm requested something, then I can be able to provide, or I can also not provide. So I just need maybe clarification from native English speakers. What does it really imply here?
So floor is open to Ian.
Yeah, so I mean, that's just the way we write resolutions. We can't direct, we have to request. It's not just specific to this resolution, it's the way that as a UN body, we have to do things. That's the best answer I can give, I'm afraid. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So my understanding will be it's custom and practice and it's synonymous with directs, and Executive Council and other bodies who are requested by Council act on these requests as if they were directs. So I hope that clarifies it. Next we have we've Iran again. Do you wish to take the floor again, Iran? Okay, thank you very much. Next we have France.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. J'aurais voulu revenir sur la demande d'ajout faite par le Japon, qui était de demander au Conseil exécutif de superviser les progrès par rapport à la cible de l'accord de Sendai. Cette formulation semble aller plus loin que ce que nous inscrivons d'habitude dans les textes de l'OMM concernant l'accord de Sendai, le cadre de Sendai, alors que l'ensemble du texte vise à conforter la voix d'autorité des services météo nationaux, ne semble pas aller dans le sens de conforter ces services nationaux, mais au contraire de les mettre en question. Ça ne me semble donc pas être complètement dans l'esprit du reste du texte. Merci.
Thank you very much. Ian.
Again, a very simple answer from me, I'm afraid. I tend to agree with the intervention from France. Thank you.
Okay, so perhaps the modification might be to the Executive Council to monitor the progress of the implementation by WMO members of the early warning services technical regulations. Yeah. So we might suggest a modification to that text and see if it's acceptable to Japan. Ian, you might work on that, please. Thank you very much. Oh, we're doing it on screen now. Okay, so I'll ask Japan if, before we move on to others who are seeking the floor, would that modification be acceptable? So we don't see Japan seeking the floor. Do you wish to take the floor on this particular item? We have a suggested modification to your change, and we're just looking for your views on that. This is relation to the request section of the resolution on screen.
Yep. Can I talk? Right. So first of all, I would like to explain the new paragraph. Japan supports that all members work together for all the implementation of early warning system in order to achieve the global target G of the center frameworks by the end of 2029. To this end, it is dispensable to monitor the progress of the implementation of early warning services by members, and the Executive Council should take the role. And then, so I add I'd like to add this sentence, but I'd like to a little bit clarify the France intervention. I cannot catch up with why this the sentence is introduced. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Japan. I think the intention was to delete the rest of the sentence. So after the intervention from France, we would be deleting from the word towards all the way to the end of the sentence. So we might, I apologize, that was not clear. Yeah, the floor is yours again. Apologies.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chair, again. So center framework is a kind of our target, and so I'd like to keep this sentence instead of the France intervention. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. Okay, Czechia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, we would propose to delete this request as a whole. And there are two reasons for that. Firstly, while Sendai monitoring system is well established, I don't think it's within the scope of WMO. There's UNDRR taking care of Sendai monitoring, and we should not duplicate the effort of the other organization of UN. So therefore, while understanding the intervention and intention from Japanese colleague to align those two processes, we don't think that the Executive Council should have any role in monitoring the monitoring process of other organizations. Also, if we change the wording as according to response to France's proposal, I'm afraid we get into conflict between the roles of Executive Council that would be requested to monitor the process and the role of President of CERCOM, who is also requested to establish monitoring process and make it a visual and visualize that in some later paragraphs. So I think that the best thing is simply to delete this one and proceed with the previous wording, with the original wording of the resolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Barbados.
Thank you, Chair. Well, my previous colleague just spoke. He kind of answers my question or makes it a lot clearer. The first adopt here we have is to monitor the full implementation by 31st of December 2029. And then obviously, if you have the request for WMO to monitor such an implementation by the day before the 2030, I don't see how that was actually possible. But so I agree to in removing the request and just leave the adopt as is, have the previous question. So he answers my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barbados. Next, we have Uruguay.
Gracias, vicepresidente. Yo igual lo mío viene por otro lado, por la parte de solicitar a las asociaciones regionales, en donde en el primer punto se le pide a los presidentes de las asociaciones regionales que respalden la aplicación del reglamento técnico. El reglamento técnico básicamente es una guía a cada Estado miembro y no menciona nada a escala regional o subregional. Y sería interesante acá poner dentro de la resolución de fortalecer, porque hay fenómenos meteorológicos, hidrológicos que exceden fronteras y son de países limítrofes dentro de las regiones, un intercambio de los sistemas de alerta, de un intercambio de comunicación que tengan y que fortalezcan la alerta temprana en los distintos países dentro de las subregiones dentro de una región. Tal vez poner un texto de que no solo sea por colaboración, sino sí guiar entre Estados miembros dentro de la región los sistemas de alerta. No sé si eso es posible aquí y no en la versión técnica que no menciona nada al respecto de algo independientemente de los miembros individuales.
Thank you very much, Uruguay. We might hand over to Ian on that. Is this a what item or is it a how item? Will this be addressed in the guidance that will be later developed by CERCOM? Thank you very much. We're considering that intervention at the moment, but we just want to go back to the last paragraph that we were dealing with, which was to do with requests. And we'll pick up your point again, Uruguay, once we get to the section on regional associations. Thank you very much. Right then, so we have a suggestion to delete the requests on the basis that there's the scope of activity and work and responsibilities of the Sendai framework and DRR activities, and that the Executive Council would be duplicating the work of CERCOM in its own monitoring and would be working in parallel and duplicating as well the work of the Sendai agreement. So there will be monitoring taking place, and there's no point in duplicating the efforts of CERCOM. That's the suggestion. So the proposal is to delete that particular requests. So has Japan any objection to deleting those requests? That requests paragraph. Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. So we just want to clarify that will it mean that SACOM is going to be responsible for the monitoring of the implementation? Is that the reason why to delete the request paragraph?
Ian.
Yeah, in terms of the early warning services for technical regulations, they are owned by the Services Commission. We'll be monitoring implementation, working with the regions, right? We can't monitor anything if we don't work with our friends in the regions, and we'll be reporting obviously back to EC on progress with implementation. That is correct, and that's what the provision also says, as pointed out by the Czech Republic. Thank you.
Right then, thank you very much. Next, we have Curacao, please. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I'm seeing right now that we are discussing several items regarding the responsibilities of the different bodies of the WMO. And when I go back to the Regional Association, Article 18, there is where you find that the function of the Regional Association shall be to promote the execution of the resolution of Congress and the Executive Council. And when I take a look at the responsibility of the technical bodies, there is where you find it will be mandated to make recommendations and set up some studies for the Executive Council and the Congress. And there, I think, there is where we need to have some clarification, because it will not be the intention that in the request to the President of the Commission of CIRCOM, that they are going to monitor the progress, and there are about, I think it's a very long sentence for that, because there's 4 mandates or requests for the President there. So I think there is where we have to start a discussion on what are the mandates of the different bodies and how we will be able to allocate this, those mandates in this resolution. Because that is the discussion that we have right now. And I think the implementation of a resolution is in the hands of the regional association and not so much in the hands of a technical body. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Albert. Thank you very much, Albert. So thank you very much. You've anticipated our reading of the next part of the document, the requests to the President of CIRCOM and also the requests to regional associations. We haven't gone through those sections yet. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to ask Ian to talk us through that section and to explain the rationale. Thank you very much.
So in an attempt to also address Curaçao's point just made about the various mandates, if we can just go down to the request of the regional associations, please. We still haven't resolved the Japanese, by the way, but we'll come back to that because this is all overarching mandates of the various bodies. So please scroll down to, request the presidents of the regional associations. So going back to Albert's point number 1, exactly as per the mandates of the regional associations, we're asking the RAs to support implementation, to report back on those needs so that we can look at those from a technical commission perspective. Also, as you can see there is a suggestion from Turkey about regional coordination mechanisms. Point number 2 is key for regional associations, capacity development, activities, projects, etc. And then point number 3 is to use the stuff coming out of the WMO regionally coordinated activities like RTCs, RSMCs, etc., etc. Now, the one thing perhaps, and again, I think I might go back to Uruguay here, that's not captured here is actually interregional coordination. I'm not sure if that was the point that Uruguay were making. Is there nothing in there that says what happens in one region should be shared with other regions, as exchange of good practices? So again, I think that's the only open question I've got from the interventions on the regional side of things. So back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Hopefully that clarifies the question from Albert. I'm seeing some nodding. Thank you very much. And I think it does address the question from Uruguay as well. Right then, continuing to move through the document, as you say. So essentially, we have reassurance for Japan in relation to the suggested intervention they have in relation associated with the requests to Executive Council to monitor progress, etc. Are you happy with the suggestion that this request is deleted on the basis that CERCOM will be conducting this activity anyhow, and on the basis of the other points that were made in relation to this intervention?
I agree with the deleting the try to add. We are trying the sentence, but just I would like to clarify the CERCOM will monitor, support the monitoring. So do we add some kind of the function in this document? Is it included? But I can't find where is it. Thank you.
Cyril will address that. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for raising the point. As you can see on the screen now, the request to the Secretary General is, first of all, to publish the amended technical regulation. We could, when we come to that point of discussion, we will eventually add the sharing with ministers of foreign affairs as it was requested, right? But here, the global reporting and monitoring of the overall progress is requested to the Secretary General, and Finland rightfully suggested to include the visualization of the monitoring results. And this is what the Secretariat has been doing for the Early Warning for All initiative. There is a dashboard available where you can all check on what's going on, where progress is being made. And this is why it was set up here, with the understanding that the previous Congress resolution tasking the Executive Council to monitor, which was delegated to the Technical Coordination Committee as the convening body where the inputs from both the regional associations and the technical commissions and the research board will come together. So there are provisions here to ensure that monitoring is going to be done, and it will be reported to the Executive Council and ultimately to Congress over time.
Ian, thank you.
Yeah, I've got a degree of sympathy with significant sympathy with the Japanese intervention, because if we go back up to the requests, the President of the Commission for Weather Climate. Thank you. Is that it? No, keep going. There we go. I think what's happened here, and again, this is something I said earlier, is that the intervention, very helpful though it was from Hong Kong, China, has now subtly changed the meaning of what was originally there in terms of the monitoring and reporting responsibilities. So that's kind of got diluted, and I think has resulted in some of the confusion about the monitoring side of things. And again, goes back to what I'm saying about a change somewhere has unforeseen consequences on other provisions. So I don't think we can solve it right now, Owen. I think we're going to have to take this bit away and have a bit of a play, because it's not explicit enough for me about what are that monitoring and reporting responsibilities of the President of the Services Commission. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We might move on from that particular paragraph and see if we can come back to it. Next, we have an intervention from Finland, and I noticed there was some editorial editing that took place in relation to the text just at the top of page 4 as it currently stands. So I'm going to hand over to Cyril to explain how the intervention from Finland was managed.
Right. Thank you, Mr. President. So first of all, yes, we had the suggestion from Finland to incorporate, to improve the text here. With the time frame we had for the publication of the second draft, we missed the final feedback from Finland, which came a bit later. The work was in progress, and this is why, where it was initially suggested in this request to the President of the Commission of the SACOM, the Finland agreed to move it into the request to the Secretary General, together with the monitoring part of it.
So we might scroll down to the section
Exactly.
with the request to the Secretary
As you can see,
General,
it has been
please.
deleted here, and it is appended after the request to the Secretary General, voila, including visualization of the monitoring results. It was moving from one part to the other.
Thank you very much. Next, we scroll back up to further requests from Turkey. And that reads the Research Board and CERCOM to strengthen the science for services interface by developing an impact-based forecasting implementation guide, integrating social, economic, and risk communication aspects. I think that intervention is quite clear. Has anybody any comments or interventions or observations they'd like to make in relation to that suggested change? Nope. Next, we move to requests for to the presidents of regional associations. Ian has already talked us through that, but we can walk through the suggested changes from Turkey. And we have the change to requests 1. And that paragraph would now read, to support the implementation of the amended technical regulations on early warning services and address identified needs of their members through regional collaborative mechanisms, including where appropriate, regional coordination and peer review mechanisms on early warning systems implementation and cross-border data exchange. Thank you to Turkey for that suggested change. Has anybody any queries, questions, objectives, or modifications? We have the United States seeking the floor.
Thank you. I actually wanted to take us back to adopts, but I can come back if it's not appropriate at this time.
No, that's fine. We can take adopts
Yeah,
now.
thanks. Sorry, we've been jumping all over. So I appreciate going back to adopts. Thanks. Great. And let me just say this has taken a tremendous amount of work by so many people involved, but I want to thank all of those that have taken this from a concept to having a actionable implementation plan and way forward. With that in mind, we wanted to remove the last portion of adopts, basically strike everything after 2027. This is a WMO resolution and it adopts a WMO technical regulation. So we don't want to make reference to other frameworks or other things that are in other bodies. So that would be striking the part that is highlighted. Thank you. Yes.
Thanks very much, United States. Ian?
Very simple answer once again. I'm in the members' hands. If members are comfortable with that, that's fine with me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hong Kong, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Regarding the request, the President of Regional Association, the first point on the peer review, just want to clarify how will that be implemented within the region, RA region? Yeah.
Thank you very much. Ian, you might take that, please.
Well, it's Turkey's text. So yeah, peer review. I mean, obviously there are plenty of examples of where this has been done for other activities as well. We'll work those details out. If we're asked to do it, we'll work out the mechanisms, obviously in slower time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Japan.
Yep. Thank you, Chair. I would like to keep the sentence, the word, the center framework, because that without this, I think we lose the deadline of the implementation of the early warning services. So in the center framework, with the center framework, we have we try to fully implement it by the end of the 2029, and then fully implemented in the 2030. So without the center framework, we lose the deadline of this our activities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Japan. Okay, thank you very much. Right then, moving down to where we were in the document, and we have noted the suggested change from the United States, and we have some interventions in relation to that particular intervention from Japan. So we might continue from where we left off. So we were in requests, the presidents of the regional associations, and we had looked at the suggested intervention and change from Turkey. Next, we look at request 2, and we have a suggested change from China. And that appears to be language that just elaborates on the meaning of that paragraph. So I would be suggesting that that should be reasonably acceptable. Japan, the floor is open.
Thank you, Chair. So sorry for proposing going back to the adopt paragraph. So at this moment, we can't, agree with the idea of deleting the Sendai framework from this paragraph. So I think it's a very important framework, and then that's a background, one of the important background for us to comply with this very important amendment to technical regulations. So we propose to keep it as it is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have a number of paragraphs we're going to have to work through in editing and in drafting. So this paragraph, the adopts paragraph, and a number of other paragraphs will have to be addressed because there's issues that have to be clarified before we can finalize this particular document. So we will be forming a drafting committee. Okay, so, and part of what the drafting committee will be addressing is the adopts paragraph. Okay, so thank you very much. I just want to continue through the rest of the document, and then we can move on from that point. So then the next intervention, after having looked through requests, the president of regional associations, we've requests the Secretary General, and we have the text that Cyril has given us an explanation for. It was suggested originally by Finland, but it was put in it was added to the requests for Finland. And next we have another intervention and suggested change from both Ethiopia and Finland, and this is to engage directly with development funders, partners and stakeholders for securing their portfolio to support needs of WMO members and implementation of the early warning services. So this is requests the Secretary General. Does anybody want to take the floor in relation to that?
Indonesia, followed by Korea.
And we have Indonesia first. Indonesia.
Well, thank you very much for all the discussion. And I just would like to suggest that in order to finalize this resolution, please again to consider 4 pillars. Each pillars have its own responsibility. However, like WMO, in pillar number 2, that's for detection, monitoring, analyzing, etc. That's for the technical aspect of the early warning. It must also connection with other pillars. So it means regarding with the adopt, again, we touch the issue on Sendai frameworks. Indeed, Sendai frameworks has been decided under the UNDRR or under the disaster risk reduction. However, we could not be fragmented from pillar number 1, number 2, 3, and 4. So we need some keywords in order to link from pillar 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's why it doesn't mean a duplication of Sendai framework. That's the keyword, how to link, to make seamless connection, end-to-end early warning. So it doesn't mean that this resolution must not include Sendai framework. Thank you very much for your considerations.
Thank you very much, Indonesia. And to be very clear, we are forming a drafting committee which will be addressing that core issue. Okay, so and so be reassured that you'll have an opportunity to directly shape the language that will result in the final resolution here at this Congress in relation to that particular item. Next, we have Korea seeking the floor.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I'd like to talk about new paragraph 3. We support the intention of strengthening engagement with development partners for the implementation of early warning services. However, to maintain the member-driven nature of WMO, we would kindly suggest deleting the word directly in new paragraph 3 so that the engagement is carried out in coordination with members. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we've had a suggested refinement to the language under requests to Secretary General. Thank you very much, Republic of Korea. Next, to finalize the document, or this phase of the discussion of the document, we just move to the changes and modifications under urges members. And we've suggested change from Ethiopia to mobilize resources through in urges 1 to mobilize resources through project development, as well as to ensure engagement of natural disaster management stakeholders. And then we have an additional urges to support the least developed countries and developing countries on building their capabilities on establishment and operations of their national early warning services from Finland. So, Russia, the floor is yours.
Спасибо большое, господин председатель. Мы бы хотели попросить вернуться вот к предыдущему пункту предложения Исламской Республики Иран Пункт 4. Я бы хотел попросить коллегу пояснить, зачем здесь упоминается Министерство иностранных дел. Мы же с вами вроде говорим
Thank
о
you
метеорологии.
very much, Russia. We can take that item now. This is the text that was provided earlier on to plenary from Iran. Thank you very much, Iran. And it is now being included in the document. So now we're seeing that text for the first time, and that's in requests for to the Secretary General. I think Iran is seeking the floor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for colleagues from Russia. That's, this is a core activity of WMO and UN proposed. And we have a almost short time frame to implement it and see its results on the national levels, reducing the dire effects of different weather hazards. So implementing on the national level and reducing the hazards for the nations requires drastic attention by the governments, national governments. So focusing on this point, then the foreign affairs can help to the meteorological organizations and other similar entities on the national level. This advice goes to the government in the higher level. So it can help the member states to fully be available on its implementation on the national level. That's why we requested to this one to be added here, because the Secretary General request from the Foreign Affairs can help on this line. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Czechia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our comment goes to urges members one, as we are a little bit cautious about leaving all the resources mobilization only to be done through the project development, as giving the need for sustainability, there needs to be stable financing. So maybe just adding word including through before through projects. Sorry, now I lost the text. But the thing is, including true development projects.
So could we pause for a second and could we go back to urges members one, please? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Just
back to you, Jan.
Yeah. So we propose to add word including, which then would read to provide the implementation of the technical regulation on early warning services and to mobilize resources, including through project development, through development project, as well as to.
Thank you very much, Czechia. Russia, the floor is yours.
Да, спасибо, господин председатель. Я бы предложил все-таки вернуться к предыдущему пункту, потому что я не получил разъяснения на свой вопрос, и вы даже не спросили меня, доволен ли я разъяснениями своего коллеги из Ирана. Мы категорически возражаем против такой формулировки, потому что мы здесь с вами все постоянные представители своих стран при Всемирной метеорологической организации. А значит, мы наделены правительством необходимыми полномочиями для принятия решений здесь на подобных заседаниях. И отчитываемся за то, что здесь сейчас происходит, мы непосредственно перед правительством, а не министерствами иностранных дел. Поэтому я думаю, что это излишне вовлекать другое министерство, которому не свойственны данные функции в этот процесс. Спасибо.
Thank you very much. And thankfully, we have a drafting team. The committee will be formed and they will be meeting tomorrow at.
Don't make that decision without consulting me.
Anyway, we have to identify a venue and a time for the drafting committee to meet. We will provide that to you shortly. Thank you very much for that intervention, Russia, and we will address that through the committee process. Right then, we also have the suggested text from Ghana. Are we close to having that ready for the screen? Yep. So we'll just present that now. We'll finalize this phase of our discussion of the document, and we'll set out the next steps for progressing the text and the language in this particular document. So here we are. Okay, so this is in institutional arrangements. So in paragraph 6.2.1, each member should ensure that the designated official providers have, have clearly defined and non-duplicating roles and responsibilities to supply the required early warning services for meteorological, hydrological, climatological, and related environmental hazards, etc. Ian.
Again, one for the drafting committee. That says something, I'm afraid, quite different from what it originally said. The provision here is about members, governments designating those provider. So this takes out that step, which is fundamental to these technical regulations. But again, one for further discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have been discussing this document at length. We've received all the substantive interventions, and thank you very much. We've received all the suggested text from the floor. There's a lot to be discussed, a lot to be debated, a lot of drafting to be done, but we have gone through the full annex paragraph by paragraph, and we have gone through the full resolution paragraph by paragraph. The next step now is to establish the drafting committee, and we have an intervention from we have Indonesia seeking the floor. Indonesia, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. Regarding the draft, and you just mentioned drafting committee, please be considered. I should apologize. When we look through the document, starting from the beginning up to the end, it's not yet really clear, excuse me, it's not yet really clear which part of that document which showing that warning must be actionable. So I try to look at carefully from one sentence by sentence. There is some training guide written there, but that not for the community, that for the members. So please consider to make more clear whether in the adopt or request that this resolution also ensuring the warning is actionable. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Right then, we'll take that as the concluding intervention in relation to this particular item. I'm going to pause the discussion on this paper now, on this particular agenda item now, and in a few moments we will move on to the next item of the agenda, which will be item 2.2, G3W. So I'll be back to you in 2 minutes to explain the time and venue for the drafting committee, and we will then commence our discussions on item 2.2, G3W. But before then, I give the floor to Russia, who have their flag raised.
Спасибо большое, господин председатель. Я бы хотел сказать, что у Российской Федерации имеются предложения, общие предложения ко всему документу 2.1. Если вы не возражаете, я могу озвучить их сейчас, либо мы это можем сделать попозже, как вы считаете это необходимым.
Please go ahead and make your suggestion.
Спасибо большое. Обеспечение гидрометеорологической безопасности является ключевой задачей всех национальных гидрометслужб стран-участников. Поэтому Российская Федерация приветствует включение в технический регламент документ ВМО номер 49 дополнений по службам заблаговременного предупреждения. Предлагаемые дополнения к этому документу носят достаточно общий характер, предусмотрительно оставляя определенный простор для учета национальных особенностей и специфики. В числе недостаточно освещенных в основном регламенте вопросов, на наш взгляд, остается вопрос о возможности и форме представления неопределенности в выпускаемых предупреждениях. В то время как вероятная форма является естественной для гидрометеорологических прогнозов, предупреждение, как правило, выпускается в форме по возможности близкой к категоричной. Причины этого достаточно понятны. Это вероятностные прогнозы несут большой объем информации, анализ которой требует времени и квалификации. Для квалифицированных пользователей вероятностные прогнозы – это важная информация для поддержки принятия решений. Но для части аудитории вероятностные прогнозы могут быть сложны для восприятия. Но самое главное, вероятностная формулировка предупреждений трансформирует распределение ответственности при принятии погодозависимых решений. Тем не менее, и предупреждения содержат элементы неопределенности. Например, местами, временами и тому подобное. В описании стандарта протокола общего оповещения Common Alert Protocol предусмотрены две вероятностные градации. Это вероятно, когда вероятность больше 50%, и возможно, когда вероятность менее 50%. То есть по умолчанию не предполагается существенной детализации уровня неопределенности. Было бы интересно обобщение опыта различных НГМС в этой сфере. В такой степени. И в какой степени и в какой форме, в каких терминах национальные гидрометслужбы характеризуют неопределенность, имеющуюся в выпускаемых предупреждениях. На наш взгляд, была бы желательна проработка данного вопроса в последующих редакциях руководства. Предлагаем рассмотреть возможность дополнения, в будущем публикации ВМО номер 49 рекомендациями в части неопределенности выпускаемых НГМС предупреждений при подготовке последующих редакций этого документа. Спасибо за внимание.
Thank you very much for that intervention. That is an important issue. Right then, I'm going to pause this part of our discussion on this particular document, and we'll be back to you in 1 minute with a time and venue for when the drafting committee will commence its work to take into account issues highlighted in the language suggested by Ghana, the intervention from Iran, the language around the Sendai framework, the modifications to the adopts from the United States, ensuring that that warnings are actionable, and also dealing with the matter of uncertainty as highlighted by the Russian Federation. So in 1 minute, we'll be back to you in relation to where and when the drafting committee will be doing its work. Okay, thanks very much, folks. So the drafting committee will be meeting at 12 o'clock tomorrow for 1 hour between 12 o'clock and 1300, and it'll be meeting in C2. So the drafting committee on document 2.1 will be meeting in C2 at 12 o'clock tomorrow, and it'll be chaired by the president of CERCOM, Ian Lisk. Thank you very much to Ian. Okay, right then, folks, we might move and use the last 25 minutes that we have available to move on to item 2.2 on our agenda, and that's the Global Greenhouse Gas Watch item. This is document 2.2, and we're dealing with Thank you very much. So for this agenda item, we're looking at document 2.2, and it's a WIP. It's a document work in progress #1. So you'll find it in the work in progress folder on the WMO portal. And document 2.2 is also supported by an information document 2.2, which is titled Analysis of Impacts of Integrating G3W into Core WMO Programs. So I'm going to hand over to the Senior Director of the Infrastructure Department, Nir Stav, to present these documents. So the floor is open to you, Nir. Thank you very much.
Document 2.2 is about the implementation of the Global Greenhouse Gas Watch. And the idea is to continue the implementation in a different manner. Next slide. Reminder, this one, yeah. Reminder, the WMO is engaged in greenhouse gases for many decades under the research program. We have of course, the bulletin, the GO networks, work on the technology of measurements, et cetera. And in recent years also we have the IGIS program, and all this is happening under the umbrella of the research effort. But Congress in 2023 decided to go for operationalization of something, of a component that is already ready to be operationalized, and that is the G3W. So it is the G3W is a research to operation activity, and the idea is to model, to use the observations existing and future ones to feed prediction models that will give the global greenhouse gas concentration fields at 1 degree resolution, and the net surface fluxes at that resolution. Next, so that's, as I said, as written in the slide, that's resolution 5 of Congress 19. Next slide. Now in EC 78 last year, the implementation plan for G3W was adopted, Resolution 3 of EC 78. And in that one, we had, first of all, the establishment of a joint advisory group of Research Board and of INFCOM. So this is the advisory group on G3W, and establishment inside INFCOM of resulting from this decision of the implementation plan, 3 task teams in the different standing committees to work on the network, so under the observation side, on the data, under the data exchange side, and of modeling under the WIPs. So it's the 3 components of observations, WIGOS, WIS, and WIPs. And accordingly, the advisory group established for each of those 3 task teams prioritized activities to do in the coming year. Next slide. Now, as you can read in the INF document, the decision when it was taken in the Congress talked about adoption of this program, but did not allocate funding for it for the second biennial. That is ending this year. Actually, there's no allocation of specific funding for that. We had a director in charge of this program. We needed to separate, and this is one of the positions that were cut. And now the question is how we go forward. And the decision in front of you says how this is, of course, after being approved by EC 79 this summer, tells that actually the continuation will be in the scope of existing programs. Existing programs on the side of GO, of the research side, and on the operational side through INFCOM. So that's what you see here on the left. You can see the activities that are already part of the mandate of GO. So those parts of the implementation plan that are related to them will be handled under the scope of activity and are already happening under the umbrella of GO, while the operational things are under the mandate of the WWW, and this is in the center, and this is the WIGOS, WIS, and WIPS component. On the right, you see something that is futuristic. That is what kind of services will be developed from this system. Some of these are related to IGIS, so this is also being researched and explored through GO. So this is all described in the INF document in front of you. Next one. So the justification is the Executive Council through a recommendation from EC 79. And then you have the full analysis in the request from EC was for the Secretariat to see the impact of continuing the program through the existing program. And as you can see in the INF document, what we found out that actually we already have major component of this initiative already embedded in the work plans of WWW and of GO. So actually, it's easy to continue this way. With regard to Secretariat support here, this will be done through an existing staff, which sits right next to me, Dr. Roxana. and with the help of a secondment, kind secondment from China. That's the way, and the activities will be done through the regular program component with several contribution, extra budgetary contribution from project, etc. So the request is to advance the goals of the Global Greenhouse Watch by mainstreaming into existing programs, the GO and the expanded World Weather Watch. Urges members to contribute to the implementation through provision of in-kind resources and secondment of staff, and request Secretary General to further strengthen collaboration and coordination with relevant United Nations agencies and other international partners. Next slide. Now, we got on draft two interventions, one from New Zealand and one from Ethiopia. And we have another intervention that we got about an hour ago, which was from USA, that is displayed in the WIP document. So we will start with, I suggest, with these, and then move to the intervention by US. So in the preamble, there is also considering the continued commitment and contribution of all key stakeholders involved in greenhouse gas monitoring. So, of course, there's already quite an active community that is following the plan of WMO and sending satellites and measuring, etc. And this is mentioned here. The original text in black, as you see, focused on the satellite component, and the New Zealand proposal is to include here the surface component as well. Maybe New Zealand to explain?
Yep. New Zealand, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So we made this proposed edit to the also considering paragraph, as you can see on the screen, where we've cited examples of in situ observations. Looking at it now, we've realised that we have made the paragraph quite long. So our intention really was to highlight the importance of in situ observations, as well as satellite-based programs. Therefore, to simplify the paragraph, what we propose is to delete the examples given for both in situ and satellite monitoring. Therefore, the paragraph would read, also considering the continued commitments and contributions of all key stakeholders involved with greenhouse gas monitoring, including those that perform critical in situ observations and via satellite monitoring programs. We will send this text to the plenary email address. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, the next intervention is from Ethiopia, and maybe they can explain.
Yes, sorry. Into Ethiopia, you have the floor. Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I think that we have been indicated that Ethiopia, as a president of AREWAN, urges members to contribute to the implementation of greenhouse gas watch through provision of in-kind resources in the secondment of the staff. This is very important issue, and we need to add and accelerate the partnerships, multilateral cooperation in strengthening their observation network in the modeling. So this is very important to make engagement with different partnership, different stakeholders to address the issue of greenhouse gases. Thank you very much.
So could we have the WIP document? So we have two interventions from USA. Scroll down. Stop here. So here was noting of Substa decision, and the USA suggests to delete it. And the other, so maybe
So I ask USA to take the floor to outline your rationale for that suggested change, please.
Sure. Similar to our last intervention on the previous paper, this is a WMO resolution, and so we want to refrain from referencing other bodies outside of our organization. It's also just superfluous information. Thank you.
Scroll down further. So now there is the decision itself, a little bit more. Yep. Stop. So decides the original text was mainstreaming them, and the suggestion here is integrating key components.
USA, very quickly, you might.
Yep, it's just a language. Since we are actually, there is no G3W program, we are breaking down the component parts and integrating them into existing work that's aligned with our core mandate.
Okay, that concludes Nir's presentation. Thank you very much. That's a very clear run through of the whole document and the actual interventions. So we've had the intervention summarized and the rationale behind them, but we'll need to close our discussion on this particular item now. In order to allow Anthony to make his announcement, we can take one quick comment from France. So the floor is yours, France.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je voulais intervenir en référence à la demande de nos collègues américains de supprimer la note au départ du document. Je comprends leur souci de raccourcir le texte et d'éviter de rentrer dans les détails de références externes au fonctionnement de l'organisation. Néanmoins, il me semble important de conserver sur ce sujet la référence de contexte à l'accord de Paris, a fortiori en cette année de 10e anniversaire. Et je suggérerais donc, tout en supprimant la totalité de la note, de pouvoir rajouter à la fin du point de l'alinéa précédent une référence indiquant simplement dans le contexte de l'accord de Paris. Merci.
Thank you very much. So you're suggesting a modification. Thank you. Thank you very much. Right then, I'm closing the discussion on this particular item for the moment. We will resume it again tomorrow morning at 10:30 after the panel on AI for weather forecasting. Thank you very much for your engagement and your forbearance and your endurance. I realized there was no coffee break. Thank you very much. Sorry about that. We have a hard stop. We have to end this session in 5 minutes, but we have just enough time to hand over to Anthony to give us an update on any announcements he might have in relation to housekeeping and running the conference. And at 1800 hours, there's an unveiling of the portrait of the former Secretary General. So over to you, Anthony.
Here we go. See, it's not just Ian. So thanks very much. First and foremost, on behalf of all of the conference service team, we'd like to welcome you. It's lovely to have you all here. It's lovely to have you all here in your building. Two special events on the agenda. We have the unveiling of a portrait coming up of our former Secretary General, and followed by the social event of the year, of course, the joint reception of the Secretary General and the President, which will take place on the top floor, A for the elevator, and that will take place 6:30 to 8:30. That does it for special announcements.
Thanks very much, Anthony. So on that note, we close this part of the Congress session, and we'll see you at the unveiling of the portrait of the former Secretary General. Thank you very much.
Shall we? Good evening, Your Excellencies, distinguished ministers, dear Secretary General, permanent representatives, distinguished observers, and guests. On behalf of the World Meteorological Organization, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to the presentation ceremony for the unveiling of the portrait of Professor Petri Talas, former Secretary General of WMO. It is my honor to welcome you back, distinguished Professor and former Secretary General Petri Talas. As a key figure in modern science, the governor's reform, your champion restructured the technical commission, offered the representative WMO we see today delivering significant saving. Your leadership in initiating the flagship UN Early Warning for All initiative has become a cornerstone of a global resilience, and it is still serving as an impressive tool for WMO's visibility worldwide. We are proud of your leadership for the creation of WMO Center of Excellence of Climate and Disaster Resilience. Furthermore, your convincing role in securing solid support for Finland has been instrumental. As Finland, FMI, is the biggest SOF peer advisor, their commitment is key to the success of the innovation systemic observation financing facilities, is closing to the global data gap. You are truly a great professor of action for making WMO strongly visible across the entire UN system. I also see your proposal on the 1 kilometer scale climate modeling as the future science modeling needed for action. Thank you for your enduring legacy and for setting WMO on a path of impactful global cooperation. Now I invite the Secretary General, Professor Celesti, to deliver her opening remarks. Please.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, dear Ambassador Heidi Fox, dear Professor Petri Talas. It's a great honor for me to join you in this short but very meaningful ceremony. Today, we pay tribute to Professor Petri Talas, who served as Secretary General of the World Meteorological Organization for 2 consecutive mandates from 2016 to 2023. During that period, as already mentioned by the President, the United Nations Secretary General launched the Early Warnings for All initiative. And WMO is proud of the tremendous progress we are making in our collective efforts to protect communities worldwide. We have seen evidence of that today at the Extraordinary Congress. Petri Talas has shown throughout WMO and the entire UN system for his scientific rigor, as well as his down-to-earth approach. He was instrumental in increasing WMO visibility with our partners and with decision makers, and was greatly respected within and beyond the meteorological community. He is remembered as a committed Secretary General who steered through reform of WMO constituent bodies, as well as the landmark Unified Data Policy. He is also known as a dedicated family man. The unveiling of this portrait is a long tradition in WMO of honoring those who have carried the responsibility of leadership. It is not only a recognition of an individual, but also a moment to reflect on continuity, institutional memory, and the shared mission that unites us across generations. With that, I am delighted to join this ceremony in celebrating the dedication of Professor Talas to this organization. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary General. Now it is my honor to invite Her Excellency Ms. Heidi Fox, Ambassador of Finland to the United Nations and other international organizations in Geneva, to deliver her message. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Mr. President, Madam Secretary General, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear Professor Talas. It's a really great pleasure for me to be here today with all of you to celebrate and honor the work of my compatriot, Professor Petteri Talas. As many of you know, Finland is a northern country where weather is always on our minds. Usually it's too cold, unless lately it's too hot. And too often it's raining or snowing, or what is even worse, it is not. So either way, the weather is an endless topic for us to discuss. So it shouldn't come as a surprise that Finland has been excelling in meteorology and punching above its weight. The Finnish Meteorological Institute, FMI, has been supporting its brother and sister institutions in more than 100 countries around the world and is an essential operator in the UN Secretary General's Early Warning for All initiative. We have financed and participated in many, many projects such as the SOF and the Cruise project. Everybody, at least in this building, know that a company called Vaisala, who is a global market leader in equipment, telling people when it's too hot or too warm, and most importantly, exactly how much. And Professor Talas's time as the Secretary General of WMO was a time of great change and reform. It was the time of the launch of Early Warning for All, and WMO became the main provider of scientific climate data in global media. Internally, the data policy was renewed, technical committees were restructured, and a number of junior experts were increased. During his term, he was the highest-ranking Finn in the global UN system, and I would now like to extend the best, warmest wishes of the Finnish government on this very important occasion. I want to congratulate you, Professor Talas, for all of your achievements at WMO, and your portrait now joins all of your predecessors on the wall as a testament of your work and your legacy. Congratulations.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for the kind and inspiring words. Now we come to the central moment of this ceremony, the unveiling of the portrait of Professor Petteri Talas. May I kindly invite the Secretary General and Professor Petteri to join me at the stand for the unveiling. Well, thank you very much. And now I'll give the floor to Professor Tellas for his remark. The floor is yours.
Dear Mr. President, dear Secretary General, dear Heidi, it's a pleasure to address you, and I feel that I'm getting old because I'm in this phase of my life today. I have been working for WMO issues since 1991. I was appointed as a member of WMO working group on Antarctic meteorology, and all the other guys, they were between 60 and 70 or 60 and 80 years old, and I was a scientist of 26 years when I joined that group. But I learned that WMO is a family organization, and the most important part of that meeting was that there was a good spirit, and the substance was a little bit the secondary issue. Then I joined this WMO UV steering group in '97, and in 2002 I became the PR of Finland, and I joined the WMO Congress in 2003. And then I got two very important advices from the previous presidents of WMO. First, John Gilman, who was from Australia, he told me that if you are once exposed to WMO issues, you will be exposed to WMO issues for the rest of your life, and that happened to me. And the other advice I got from Beditsky, Alexander Beditsky, who was the president of WMO after Zilman, and he gave me advice that we don't like revolutions, and that was his experience from Soviet Union. And then I was appointed as director of so-called DRA department here dealing with the regional issues in 2005. And many of my European colleagues were saying, "Why do you go to WMO? It's such an old-fashioned organization, and you don't feel well here." But I felt well. And in 2007, I became member of EC, and there I had passion for modernization of this organization. And then I faced the same situation as Celeste was facing by campaigning to become a Secretary General. And one day I believed that I will be successful, and the other day I thought that it's not going to fly. And I'm sure that you were facing a little bit same sentiments while you were campaigning. And we often think that the Secretary Generals are the ones who will achieve something, or they are the focal things. But the key issue are the talented staff members of the organization. And I was very pleased to collaborate with so many talented staff members here, and also with several of colleagues from as PRs of WMO. And all the nice things that I just heard, they were achieved because of many of you who are present here today. We carried out this constituent body reform. We reduced the amount of technical commissions from 8 to 2, and that was quite laborious process. And we realized that there are 100 observation-related expert groups at WMO, and somebody started saying that WMO means World Meeting Organization instead of Meteorological Organization. And my passion was also to emphasize the visibility of climate science, and I had the pleasure to attract the attention of Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who was very much interested in the same topic, and we had plenty of joint press events and excellent collaboration with him, and I was appointed as a member of his core climate group as well. Then we established these early warnings for all, which was his initiative, and he gave us mandate for that. And I was pleased to see some numbers that co-presented today, that there has been progress in that field. But we are not yet there, so the work needs to continue. And also this global greenhouse gas, which we just discussed, that's very important initiative to better understand what's happening in real atmosphere when it comes to sources and sinks of carbon, methane, and nitrous oxide. And by combining ground-based data and satellite data, we will be successful there. And we also made changes here at the Secretariat, and these changes are quite laborious for the staff members. And what Beditsky said about revolutions, we have to be a little bit careful with those I wasn't very careful. We changed the secretariat structures, and we also hired plenty of young experts here, including plenty of female young experts to this organization at the expense of support staff. And of course, today WMO is facing challenging times. We are going to discuss the financial situation of this organization, and the situation is not very promising, and perhaps the weather of this week is a little bit echoing how the mood is when it comes to finances of this organization. And at the moment, unfortunately, we are in the middle of these kind of geopolitical changes, and sometimes these political changes that we are facing, they are not serving the interest of the citizens of this planet. They may be serving the interest of some power games, but at the moment it looks like that we are having more these kind of lose-lose games instead of win-win games going on. Finally, I would like to say something about this painting that you just saw. It was painted by a very famous Finnish portrait painter called Marjatta Hanhioki. We had 10 sessions with her at the headquarters of FMI, and she was also interested in learning me as a person, and she realized that when I'm speaking, I usually have my hand like this, and it was quite challenging to keep my hand in this position for 10 sessions that when she was painting the things. And then she was asking which season I like, and I said that perhaps it's winter, and she was having this famous painting of a Dutch painter from the 17th century in the background, and you can see that there was snow and ice in Netherlands 400 years ago, which is not the case so often anymore. And there's also this famous climate graph showing that what is happening with the temperature worldwide and some technology, and also what are the situation with the global water resources. So this hydrology component was also there. And we had also this event to reveal this painting in her home. She was living in famous artist's home in Helsinki, where the best artists and musicians and actors are living. My plan was to bring Madame Hanhioki also here to reveal this painting and tell more about this painting. She went to hospital last June, and in 3 weeks we realized that she passed away. So that was very unfortunate last July, and I'm of course hoping that she would rest in peace. And this was the last painting that she was painting in her life. So despite of this sadness, I feel I would like to welcome you all to this event on my behalf. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Petri. Thank you, Madam Ambassador, for being here. And we are happy that you are still with us at WMO. Thank you very much. Thank you. And do you have any announcement? Nothing. Yeah, so we will see you later on the reception. Thank you very much. Thank you.